one man who refuses to follow the script.
We have rules here, you know that. And if you don't follow the rules, then what are we?
One man stands tall in the face of adversity.
But it ain't about how hard you hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward.
A man who rises above the ashes of hot takes.
What do you care what they say?
Easy for you to say they will love you.
It's just noise, man. You're really good at it. You might be great.
That man is Nick Kostos, and this is You Better You Bet.
If loving sports is wrong, I don't want to be right.
Where narratives are challenged and the truth is spoken.
I told you what was going to happen last week. If you didn't listen, that's on you.
This isn't talk, it's perspective.
It's not what you look at that matters. It's what you see.
This is You Better You Bet, presented by BetMGM on Westwood One Sports.
What's up, everybody? Happy and merry. Tremendous Sports Thursday to you and yours. This is You Better You Bet with Nick Kostos on Westwood One Sports, as we bring you the fastest show in all of sports. The show presented today and always by BetMGM. Make it legendary by downloading the BetMGM app and visiting BetMGM.com. And on this Thursday morning, the world of sports has once again gone mad. And we're going to get to all the big stories, including the Celtics beating the Thunder last night in Beantown in a potential NBA Finals preview. But does the result of the game matter? We're going to discuss coming up in a little bit. I will also tell all of you, the NBA championship contender that I don't want to hear from again this season. I don't even want to watch them again this season. We're going to have to because they're going to the playoffs. I hate this team, and I'm going to tell you which team it is and why in a little bit. We will discuss why and how Netflix got it all wrong last night with the opening baseball broadcast of the Yankees and the Giants in San Francisco. And I'm going to tell everybody the two teams that the NFL absolutely jobbed yesterday and why. Our bets for tonight will close the show. We're going to have a bunch of them. Sweet 16 rounds in the NCAA Tournament is back. We got opening day in Major League Baseball. Is it opening day? Was yesterday opening day? I have no idea. I don't think they do either. Baseball bets, college basketball bets, NBA bets will close the show. 310-840-4910, 310-840-4910, youtube.com/@thekostos. Shout out to everybody watching there on all social media at the Kostos, TheKostos. But we officially begin the tremendous Sports Thursday edition of You Better You Bet with the madness. Because after a 3-day hiatus, the NCAA Tournament returns to our lives tonight. And you know, it's like when you're in a relationship and the relationship's just beginning and you are like addicted to being with this person. You are obsessed with this person. You are infatuated with this person early on. We all know the beginnings of a great relationship. They all start the same way. And it feels like when you're apart, forget about 3 days, you're apart for 1 day, it can feel like a month. 3 days can feel like 3 months, can feel like a year. Such is the feeling you get when you've got that excitement, when you've got that energy, when you've got, perhaps, that love. Such is the plight of the sports fan, where, Darius Acuff and Kingston Flemings can inspire the same feelings as a nice set of legs or whatever it is that floats your boat. Tonight, not a moment too soon, the NCAA Tournament returns to our lives. And it is a pretty good slate tonight. I wouldn't say it's the greatest slate of all time. Tomorrow's slate, definitely better than tonight. Tomorrow we get the two juggernaut matchups in the East, UConn and Michigan State, and of course Duke against Rick Pitino and St. John's. But man, this is still going to be pretty awesome tonight. We've got Purdue and Texas. Can Texas take down the Boilermakers, or will we see Braden Smith and company, Trey Kaufman-Renn, Matt Painter go to the Elite Eight? And we've got Iowa and Nebraska. How about that Big Ten showdown in the South region to go to the Elite Eight? I think both of these games are going to be really fun. I'm going to watch the hell out of both of them, probably play some money on both of them to jazz up the proceedings. I can't wait for it. But if we're being really honest about how this is going to go, and this is hashtag East Coast Problems for those of us that live in the Eastern time zone, and especially those of us that have to get up early to work on a national sports radio show that starts at 9 a.m. Eastern time. The main event tonight, no disrespect to the four programs I just mentioned. Purdue, Texas, Iowa, Nebraska. No disrespect to them. But the main events, plural, tonight are in the late slate. Arizona and Arkansas, Houston and Illinois. Absolute 5-star bangers to wrap up Sweet 16 Thursday in college basketball. Let's start in the West region with the 1 seed Arizona against the 4 seed Arkansas Razorbacks. Arizona in this game. If someone were to ask you the question, hey, I've heard Arizona's pretty good this year. How good is Arizona? How good are the Wildcats actually? Answer to the question, good enough to be a 7.5-point favorite against the SEC tournament champions and against a team that has a guard who's probably going to go top 5 in a generational NBA draft who's averaging about 75 points per game in postseason play in Darius Acuff. That's how good the Arizona Wildcats are. 7.5-point favorites tonight against Arkansas. And if you're following the money, Arizona looks to be the preferred betting side in the game. And it's going to be even more so than a potential Elite Eight game on Saturday for Arizona against either Purdue or Texas. It's going to be in this moment tonight where we find out if Arizona is for real. And I'm not just talking for real. I'm talking for real, for real. Like Kendrick Lamar said, are they real? Are they real? Are they really, really real? We're going to find out tonight. Because in this Tommy Lloyd era at Arizona, which is, in terms of wins and losses, literally the most successful 5-year beginning to a 10-year in the history of college basketball in terms of wins and losses. 0 trips beyond the round of 16. 0. Losing to Houston in 2022. How about losing to Clemson in 23? Losing to Duke last year. Tommy Lloyd, we're ready for your close-up, buddy. There is, and I don't mean this as a disrespect to Arkansas. A lot of people think that Arkansas can pull this upset. We had John Fanta on the show prior to the tournament starting, and he told us that he thinks, he predicted this matchup. And look, it was the chalk matchup, 1v4. But still, he said before the tournament started, I'm calling my shot. Arkansas over Arizona in the round of 16. So it's not like everyone thinks Arizona's running away with this, right? And Arkansas can obviously win. We see upsets happen all the time in sports. But let's keep it real. There is 0 excuse for Arizona to not win this game tonight and to get past the round of 16 and to slay the dragon that's been haunting Tommy Lloyd, to scale this mountain that is thus far proven to be insurmountable for Tommy Lloyd in Arizona and get to a regional final. 0 excuse for Arizona. That's how good the Arizona Wildcats are. You absolutely have to win this game tonight. And for Tommy Lloyd, obviously, just to win a national championship this year, it matters. But we're going to hear his name bandied about for the North Carolina job. Not if Arizona loses tonight. I'll tell you what, Arizona loses tonight, I guarantee you North Carolina ain't hiring Tommy Lloyd. Not going to happen. Not that Tommy Lloyd even wants to leave, but there's a little added sizzle and spice to the proceedings if that's the case, right? Where this is Tommy Lloyd's shot. Huge favorite, 1 seed. Go out there and get the job done. What I'm about to say right now is going to sound unfair. And you know what? It is unfair. But guess what? Life's not fair. Life ain't fair. Tell me I'm wrong about this. Here is the statement. If Arizona loses tonight to Arkansas, the season is a failure. True or false? If Arizona loses tonight to Arkansas, Arizona's season is a failure with a capital F. Congratulations, you won the Big 12 regular season. Congratulations, you won the Big 12 tournament. Congratulations, you were the 1 seed in the West region. Congratulations, you've been one of the favorites to win the national championship. If they can't get past the round of 16, it is a failure, period. The stakes are insanely, insanely high. Let's look at the Arkansas Razorbacks now. Dogs in this game tonight, obviously. If Arkansas is going to win, and Arkansas wins this game, what we are going to be talking about tomorrow here on You Better You Bet actually, kind of gives me chills. Because if the Razorbacks do win, and to be clear, I think Arizona's going to win. I think Arizona's going to win by double digits. I'm on the Arizona train here big time. I think Arizona gets the job done. But look, I'm wrong all the time. Crazy stuff happens in sports constantly, right? If Arkansas wins this game tonight, it will mean that we are getting another legendary effort from Darius Acuff. Try to envision a scenario where Darius Acuff scores 11 points and Arkansas wins the game. There's no shot. Zero. Acuff's going to have to score a ton. And this may turn out to be a 1980s action movie where here's Sylvester Stallone against 55,000 bad guys, and Stallone ends up as the last man standing. That may be Darius Acuff tonight going up against Burries and against Bradley and against Pete and against Arizona. And it can obviously happen. And if it does, oh man, imagine the Darius Acuff conversation. Now, he's not going to go number 1 overall in the draft. That'll be DeBonsa or Peterson. But with DeBonsa and Peterson out of the tournament, if Acuff shows up and shows out and balls out tonight, there are going to be people that are saying, should Darius Acuff be the number 1 overall pick? Whether it's right or not doesn't matter. It will be a topic. Those are the stakes tonight. And then, how about John Calipari? John Calipari, a couple of years ago, in case people have forgotten, left Kentucky for Arkansas, which would be like, in college basketball terms, leaving Beyonce for Lizzo. Why would he do that? Well, fast forward a couple years. Arkansas's in the Sweet 16, and Kentucky got embarrassed by Iowa State without its second leading scorer, and Kentucky got sent home, and Mark Pope's seat is ready to be engulfed in flames. John Calipari's done an unbelievable job. And John Calipari, if Arkansas wins this game tonight against Arizona, they play Purdue, Purdue's going to be favored in the game. But who is going to believe that Arkansas can't win that game? John Calipari is 2 wins away from taking 4 separate teams to the Final Four. UMass, Memphis, Kentucky, and it would be Arkansas. Oh, man. Oh, baby. Can you feel the electricity tonight in San Jose with Arizona and Arkansas? And then there's the nightcap. So are any of us getting any sleep tonight? No. Because the late tip tonight is Houston against Illinois in Houston. The Cougars right now, the 2v3 in the South region. The Cougs, 2.5-point favorites over the Illini. Looks like that's going up to 3. 139.5 the total. And we can keep it real here, like we always do on the show. Is it possible that either Iowa or Nebraska goes to the Final Four? Of course. Of course it can happen. Crazy things happen all the time in sports. Like we've said on the show for years. Like, many teams can win 4 games. Almost none can win 6 and win a title. But a lot of teams can win 4. Of course, Iowa or Nebraska could go to the Final Four. But this game tonight, with Houston and Illinois, is probably the regional final in the South region. I would even go as so far to say that if any of the Sweet 16 games this week, today and tomorrow, this is the one that's the closest to an actual regional final, is Houston and Illinois. Because you know that whoever wins this game tonight gonna be favored. And probably everyone's gonna be on that team to win against either Iowa or Nebraska. This is a legitimate Elite 8 game being played in the round of 16 tonight with Illinois and Houston. And Houston, right? This has been going on for years with Kelvin Sampson. Houston, we all have a friend like this, or we all know people like this, right? Someone who is, and I find Houston to be very likable. I think Kelvin Sampson is likable. Like, if I don't have a rooting interest, I would probably root for Kelvin Sampson to win a national championship. Like, I find him to be likable. I find Houston to be like this lovable underdog program. You can disagree with me. That's my opinion. Houston is like the person you know that's exceptionally likable and wants to do well. And you want them to do well. Unless you bet against them or pick against them in your bracket, right? But he or she is a self-saboteur. And they get to the end, or they get to a big spot, and they self-sabotage. And they cheddar bob it. They Plaxico Burress it. They shoot themselves in the foot or another appendage. And it is painful and brutal to watch, and you can't believe that it happens time after time after time. Whether it's against Villanova, shooting somehow negative percentage from 3, which is mathematically impossible until Houston does it. Or how about last year in the national championship game, the ultimate agony, not even getting a shot off against Florida as the game winds down. It happens every year. Can Kingston Flemings be the guy to turn it around for the Cougars? And to be clear, Houston winning tonight is not the end of the road for Houston. Houston winning on Saturday is not the end of the road for the Houston Cougars. Hell, Houston winning Final Four Saturday ain't the end of the road for the Cougars. No. If Houston wants to exercise the demons, they got to win a national championship. Tonight, you can argue, will be a bigger test for Houston than the rounds of 8 against either Iowa or Nebraska. And then maybe it's Duke, maybe it's St. John's, maybe it's UConn, maybe it's Michigan State. We can have that conversation when and if we get there. But if Houston's going to climb the mountain, can't sabotage tonight, no self-sabotage, go out there in a home environment and win the damn game. But it's not going to be easy because Illinois is tremendous. Illinois is stacked with studs. Wagler, Mirkovic, Boswell, Stojakovic, loaded with offensive talent. Now, of course, Illinois' problem is they don't really play much defense, making them like a boss in a video game that when it starts, it's like a Zelda boss that is hulking and gigantic and massive, and yet they've got like this blinking thing like underneath their left armpit, and you know if you hit it with an arrow a couple times, it's going to die. That's how it feels to me with Illinois. Like, yes, they are imposing. And yes, they are gigantic. And yes, they are so offensively talented, but they can be had. But let's be real. What happens tonight if Illinois plays its best game. If Illinois plays its A-plus game and Houston plays its A-plus game, who wins? Who wins? I think it's Illinois. I think the Illini will win. So for me, it almost doesn't matter what Houston does tonight. As crazy as that sounds, because they're the favorite and they're basically playing at home. If Illinois gives you a focused effort from start to finish, I think the Illini win, and I think they're ultimately headed to Indianapolis. The winner either way, though, tonight, Houston and Illinois. And it is kind of disrespectful to Iowa and Nebraska to say this. And I'm willing to be wrong. Prove me wrong. We'll find out. I'll pay to see it. The winner of this game tonight, Houston and Illinois. Book your travel to Indianapolis. This is an Elite Eight game in the Sweet 16. What a frickin' time to be alive. 310-840-4910. 310-840-4910. Do you agree with me on Illinois and Houston, on Arizona, Arkansas? What about Purdue, Texas? What about Iowa, Nebraska? Let us know on YouTube, youtube.com/@thekostos. You can tweet me at @thekostos, TheKostos. On the other side, last night in Beantown, the Celtics left Oklahoma City thunderstruck. But does it matter as it concerns an NBA championship? I'm going to tell you next here on a Thursday.
Celtics win the game. Goes up, gets fouled, basket counts, and one. A big smile for Jaylen Brown.
Now, back to You Better You Bet with Nick Kostos on Westwood One Sports.
NBC Sports Boston, courtesy of the highlight. How about them Celtics? How about me? Betting OKC last night. Not great. Final score, Celtics 119, Thunder 109. Jaylen Brown, casual, 31-8-8. Jason Tatum, 19-12-7. He bounces back from a couple. He's coming back from a torn Achilles. Not meant to be an insult, but, a couple substandard efforts for his standards. So Tatum bounces back, and it is a great win by the Boston Celtics. And I got to be honest, we'll talk about the result and kind of what I think it means moving forward. But I need to begin with this. Jaylen Brown, I think, because Joel Embiid barely plays. He played last night. We'll talk about the Sixers later in the show with Embiid back and Paul George back, and Maxi's not even back yet. And just, hey, Billy Donovan, go to North Carolina. Why do you have to watch the Sixers drop 157 on your team? So since Joel Embiid doesn't really play basketball that often, he can't be the biggest troll in the NBA anymore. Troel Embiid. He can't be if he doesn't play. I think Jaylen Brown is the biggest troll in the league now. And I mean that in the most complimentary way possible. So Jaylen Brown last night, and we know that Jaylen Brown is taken because they played the Thunder recently, right? And they lost to OKC in what was a great game. And Jaylen Brown is, bitching and moaning about SGA's foul baiting. And there was an instance in the game a couple weeks ago in Oklahoma City where you can literally hear Jaylen Brown yelling on the court. That's how loud it was. He's not mic'd up. You can hear him yell, "That's not basketball," after SGA draws a foul. There's a play during the game last night where Jaylen Brown, basically baits a foul on SGA. So SGA jumps up into him. Brown jumps and shoots the ball to draw a foul. And Jaylen Brown walks away from SGA like laughing. He's fully aware of what he's doing. And I love that from Jaylen Brown. I love the piss and vinegar from Jaylen Brown that he's playing with. I think it's been outstanding to watch as he's really elevated his game to another level this year. And the comp that I've been making for quite some time, and it's not apples to apples, is that this is like Pippen in 93, 94 when Michael Jordan took his sabbatical, right? And Pippen kind of, was nearly the MVP of the NBA that year and took the Knicks to Game 7 of the Eastern Conference semis, which the Knicks, of course, barely won and then would lose to the Rockets in the NBA Finals. But that is a story for another time. Now, you might think that Shai Gilgeous-Alexander would be a little salty about this loss, perhaps a little salty with Jaylen Brown for baiting him into the foul, but that is not the case with SGA. Take a listen to what the reigning NBA MVP and Finals MVP had to say about Jaylen Brown last night.
He's done a really good job of getting to the free throw line, especially against us. I think it's 14 twice, so 28 free throws in 2 games. It's a pretty good job. The best players in the history of the game get to the free throw line. So,
the best players in the history of the game get to the free throw line. SGA's the best. He's just, and look, he's a young player still. Maybe at some point he'll be affected by the criticism and the drama. But look, they're coming off a championship. He's going to win another MVP, barring something insane happening. They're the favorite to win another NBA championship this year. So he's cool as the other side of the pillow. Lose on the road in Boston. Jaylen Brown's the star of the game. And BD. No big deal. And I love that from Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. I also love it from Jaylen Brown. And if indeed it's going to be Celtics Thunder in the NBA championship, if that's what we end up getting, and I absolutely think it'll be OKC coming out of the West. I feel a little worse about Boston. The Knicks are playing really well. The Knicks did beat the Celtics last year in the playoffs, it needs to be said. That is something that happened. We'll get to the Pistons a little later in the show. They lose last night to Atlanta, but in overtime, and Dennis Jenkins continues to play well, and Jalen Duren had a monster game. He even got 18 points out of Oscar Thompson. I feel better about the Pistons now than I did a week ago prior to Cade Cunningham's collapsed lung. It could be Boston, and no one would bat an eyelash. So if it's Boston OKC, if that's the NBA Finals, I think the big thing that we've learned from the two meetings that these teams have had recently, including last night, one by Boston, and then a couple weeks ago, one by Oklahoma City, both home teams winning. It'd be a hell of a finals. Like, entertainment-wise, I'm a Knicks fan, right? I'm a lifelong Knicks fan. I have to acknowledge, right? Because this is a national sports show. It's not a New York show. Boston, Oklahoma City is a more, at least on paper, more entertaining NBA Finals than Knicks Thunder would be. And Boston, I think, even if I think the Knicks could beat the Celtics, I think the Celtics could give Oklahoma City a tougher series. And maybe it would go 7. It would be great. But last night's result will not shake me off of my belief that the Thunder are still the best team in the league. Jalen Williams, J-Dub, did not play great last night for OKC. It's also his second game back from another hamstring injury. For Oklahoma City, it ain't about last night. It's about the health of this team, going into the postseason healthy, because when they're healthy, they are as deep as it gets, and they're the best team in the league. So if it's Celtics Thunder, will I be excited? I mean, I'll be crushed as a Knicks fan, but yes, as a sports fan, I will love it. It'll be great, but I don't think the Celtics will win the NBA Finals. I'll still take the Oklahoma City Thunder. 310-840-4910, youtube.com/@the Kostos. We will take a quick break, and on the other side, we will be joined by basketball royalty. Basketball Hall of Famer, the legendary Jim Boeheim, joins us on You Better You Bet with Nick Kostos on Westwood One Sports right after this.
Now, back to You Better You Bet with Nick Kostos on Westwood One Sports.
You always love a play-by-play call that's so awesome. Like, what happens is so electric that all the broadcasters just go in unison, oh, for a few seconds. Like we heard there, Kevin Harlan and friends on CBS, setting up that St. John's win against Kansas on Sunday. One of the great Sweet 16 games in recent memory, tomorrow night with Duke against Rick Pitino and St. John's. We will be joined by legendary college basketball coach and Basketball Hall of Famer Jim Boeheim in just a second, but we got to tell you about our show sponsor, BetMGM. Get in on the fun of a new Major League Baseball season with a no-sweat token. If you don't win your bet with the token attached, you'll get your stake back in bonus bets. Log into your BetMGM account to receive your token. Download the BetMGM app today. Joining us right now on the show, basketball and college basketball royalty, national champion of your Syracuse Orange, ACC Network's own, the great Jim Boeheim. Coach, thanks for joining Nick Kostos here on You Better You Bet. Happy Sweet 16 round, my friend, to you and yours. How's it going?
It's great, and college basketball is in a great place. Nobody likes the NIL transfer portal, but when you look at it deep, everybody can get players. There's 40 European players over here that wouldn't be over here if it wasn't for the money. And juniors and seniors stay in college because they know they're not going to probably be, well, they think they're going to be first-round picks, but they're smart enough, somebody's smart enough to tell them, stay in college, get some money, and then go. And, so the game's great. This Sweet 16, you look at these teams, I mean, this is really good basketball. There was really good basketball played so far, a lot of really good basketball, and anything can happen more so than ever before in the NCAA Tournament. So it's fun to be around and watch that. Well, it's just fun to be around, when you get to be over 80. But I just think college basketball it's great. I did games this year and watched some of these teams. And one thing for St. John's fans, and Coach, I love Rick Pitino, one of the great coaches ever in college basketball. And he did draw up a great play there at the end of the game. But sometimes players win games, that's what happens there. But Duke's a little bit down. Those two players being out really, I think, makes them a different team. It's hard for them to play with the same intensity without those two players because we're rotating guys, 8, 9 guys, and it really worked. When you get down to 7, it's difficult. Maybe they'll be at better full strength, but I don't think they won't have the guard back, but they'll have the big guy back. So I think St. John's has a shot here. I think Duke is not quite what they were. They're still really good, and you have to probably make them a favorite, but it's a little bit more up in the air than it was 3 weeks ago.
I love that analysis, and tough to disagree, right? And I think it's really fair to say, and obviously like your former point guard, and we'll get to Syracuse and Jerry McNamara in a second, Duke has played like one good half in the 2 games thus far, right? And it's the second half against TCU. So we have these incredible games tomorrow, Coach, in the East region, right? With Duke and St. John's, and then UConn with Danny Hurley and Michigan State with Tom Izzo. If I asked you right now, and this can be a pencil, not pen answer, you can make a case for any of the 4 teams. If I made you pick right now, the final 4 participant out of those 4 teams in the East region, Duke, St. John's, UConn, Michigan State, who is Jim Boeheim taking and why?
I would probably take Duke, even though they're weakened. I think the best teams in the country in the other division or in the other regions. I think I still like Arizona, Houston, and Michigan, but I think Duke is the best team left in this region, although it is paper thin close. Michigan State, you can't count out Tom Izzo. I mean, look at the coaches here. I mean, Danny Hurley obviously proven to be the best coach right now in the last 10, 15 years. Rick Pitino for the last, 40, 50 years. And, Tom Izzo. And John Shire is a great coach at Duke. I mean, you got 4 coaching matchups here. That they kind of steal the show here. I think when you talk about Arizona, Tommy Lloyd's a great coach, but you talk more about their players. Michigan, more about their players. When you talk about this region, almost all the talk is about the coaches. I mean, you got 4 coaches here. They're going to be in the Hall of Fame. A couple of them already are, and the other two will be. John Shire's a very underrated coach. He's really good. But one thing I wanted to touch on, I was talking to you before, listening to your show, and you're talking about SGA.
Yep.
And I'm telling you, Buddy was up with them, and I was out there, and Shea wasn't playing. He was in the locker room, in the family room with his kid and his wife. He is the nicest guy. I've been around a lot of NBA players, the 3 Olympics and 3 World Championships and stuff. This guy is obviously a great player. The best guard I've ever seen at getting his own shot anytime he wants it from 15 feet. Steph Curry can get it, but sometimes he takes it from 35, which is fine. But he reminds me a little bit of Oscar Robertson, who 99% of the people listening don't know who Oscar Robertson is. But
the Big O.
He could get his own shot anytime he wanted. And, but he was 6'5", 220 back in the day when the other guards were 6'1". So he just backed them in. But Shea gets his own shot. But what impressed me is he, and always has whenever he talks or does anything, just the nicest guy with no, all these other guys, I mean, they have something about them. Something you'd say, he's big time. He thinks he's big time. Whatever. He just doesn't have that. He's that kind of guy. And they've got an unbelievable coach and team. And when they're healthy, as much as I like the Knicks have done, or the Celtics now with Tatum, Wemby might be the only guy.
Well,
that can
I want to ask you about that's where I was going to take this, Coach, because I mean your basketball life is unbelievable, and it goes noted, and you've earned the right to do this. You and stuff. This was like Seinfeld, yada yada yada, like all the Team USA's and the World Championships and stuff. Like, what a basketball life you've led. You've seen so many great players, both at college and the NBA, and now in San Antonio, we have this literal, I guess not literal, because that would be really weird, but a figurative unicorn. We've never seen anything like this before. How do you kind of rationalize what you watch when you see Victor Wembanyama? We have actually never seen this before, what Victor Wembanyama is doing.
Yeah, and he's got people around him, too. I think that's the one thing they built in San Antonio. Pop in San Antonio is a great, great organization. It's been great for a long time. They suffered a lot, but they were building some of these young guys, some of these other guys, so that when Wembanyama got there, I mean, now they're really ready because these other guys have been through hard times, and they're ready to be great. And this guy, there's nothing like him. You can't even come up with a comparison. With Michael Jordan, you could compare him to Kobe, or there's so many guys you can compare great players to, but there is no comparison, and he's going to be a hard ask. I think somehow when I watch him play, I mean, if you can be physical with him, maybe you can kind of knock him off his spots for a while, but that's only going to be for another year or so. I mean, in a couple of years, he stays healthy. I mean, you're not going to be able to do that, and he's going to be hard, but OKC has built such an organization. Sam Presti is, you just can't even quantify what he's done. I watched them play. Shea was out. Williams was out. I think Hartenstein was hurt a little bit, and they beat a really good team. The Cleveland had just gotten Harden, and I'm there for that game, and I'm thinking, this is going to be tough. They won. I mean, guys off the bench that never played. Isaiah Joe and Wallace get 25 and 24 between them, and they beat Harden and Mitchell played great. It didn't matter. Oklahoma State still won, so it's going to be tough to beat them. But I just have to talk about SGA. I'm just so impressed with him overall. As just a teammate. He's cheering on the bench. Can't play, he's cheering on the bench. He's in with his family, talking to everybody. Comes over to me. I talked to him for 10 minutes just about, talking about his high school career, how we recruited him. Didn't get him. I'm not good enough recruiter. But, just a super human being. And it's fun to see guys like that there's a lot of them in sports, a lot more than there are bad. But the bad ones tend to get over publicized sometimes. But my experience is, I was in the Yankee locker room once, or bench area with Jeter, and so those superstar guys, they're really good people. It's fun to be around them.
Love that. I love that. A couple more minutes here with Jim Boeheim, legendary college basketball coach, ACC Network, with Nick Kostos, You Better You Bet, on Westwood One Sports. Just to get this news in, the wild story, Coach, and this college basketball. LSU is going to part ways with head coach Matt McMahon and bring Will Wade back from NC State to LSU. So that news just broke. So that's going to happen. Just wanted to get that into the show. In the couple minutes we have remaining here, Coach, obviously, I think I actually get fired if I don't ask you about Jerry McNamara getting hired as the new coach of Syracuse. And I said to you off air, and I've said this on air also, college whether you, the person watching or listening, whether you like Syracuse basketball or not, you have to acknowledge college basketball is better and healthier when Syracuse is really good. And it's your former star point guard who helped you guys win a national championship with Melo in 2003, Jerry McNamara, that's taking over the reins. I'm guessing you're fired up by this development. We have a couple minutes here. Jim Boeheim on Jerry McNamara going back to Syracuse.
Well, he's the best competitor I've ever had as a 6-foot guard that just never backed down to anybody. If he was hurt, he played. He's unbelievably competitive, which is what most coaches are. There's not any coaches coaching that are any good that aren't competitive, but he's ultra competitive. He understands the game from a point guard's perspective. He learned the game and understands the game. And he did a great job coaching this year. He won. It's not unusual to win those conferences. It's unusual when you don't have the best players. He had 2 guys out for the year and another guy out right before the tournament. So he can adjust and make decisions. The biggest thing that we haven't done here, and this is, I'll take some of the responsibility, we haven't done the NIL that we need to do. That's the game today, and we didn't get that done for Adrian. And we need to get that done for Jerry. You can't win. If you look at the top 4 teams in the ACC, they're the 4 teams that spent the most money. Teams who were bad last year, whether it's NC State or Virginia, invested money in their programs. NIL, obviously have good coaches, and they're winning. And that's the deal today. You can coach all you want, do whatever you think you can do, and be a good coach, but you have to have NIL to get some players. Lou Carnesecca once a long time ago said, what's the key? You tell young coaches, get some players. Lou would get some players and you'll be all right. And it's a funny story. When Rick came back to St. John's, my phone rang Sunday morning at 8:30, and it was, "Hey, Jimmy, what do you think about Lou? What do you think about what we done?" And I said, "Well, Lou, I think you got a great coach." And he was 98.
Amazing.
I just hope I can call somebody when I'm 98 and talk about basketball.
Coach, I love it. I have to tell you, and I understand, obviously, and it's not to relitigate Syracuse going to the ACC. I just, as a New Yorker, I miss the old Big East, man. It was the best. But obviously, yeah. I think Cuse, I would love to see Cuse get back to that level again. Just great for the sport. And Coach, you're great for the sport, and you're selfishly. You're great for me, and you're great for the show because you're fantastic. Really, really, really appreciate the time. I hope we get to do this again before the tournament concludes. Thank you very much.
Anytime you want. I've got nothing but time.
Great. Well, guess what? We're going to text you next week. So really appreciate it because this was an absolute blast. The legend, Jim Boeheim, joining us here on You Better You Bet. How about Coach not just giving us sterling stuff on the Sweet 16 and Syracuse, but also an excellent anecdote on Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and how likable he is, and the Oklahoma City Thunder and the NBA. What a basketball life Coach Jim Boeheim has led. Really, really, really enjoyed that. All right, hour 1 done, hour 2 for you coming up on the other side. How about we go from one college basketball coach to another? The great Steve Lapis joins us coming up next to preview the Sweet 16 round of the NCAA Tournament here with Nick Kostos on Westwood One Sports.
The biggest names in the business are on You Better You Bet with Nick Kostos.
Hey, this is Joe Buck, and you have done it. You have found it. You are listening to You Better You Bet. Great decision.
Hi, this is Kevin Harlan of CBS, Westwood One, and TNT, and I'm listening, as you do every day, to You Better You Bet with the most handsome single man in the radio business. A man who, if I was not married for 38 years, I might consider myself the kind of guy that can electrify a listening audience and a crowd of bystanders watching him do what he does so well each and every day. Continue to listen right here on You Better You Bet.
This is You Better You Bet on Westwood One Sports, brought to you by BetMGM.
The tremendous Sports Thursday edition of You Better You Bet rolls on. Nick Kostos, our crew, and you on Westwood One Sports. I'm buzzing after the first hour of the show today. I can't wait for tonight. 3 days away from my love, the NCAA Tournament. Way, way, way too long. Tonight, it's back. And tomorrow, and Saturday, and Sunday. What a time to be alive. Can't wait for Arizona, Arkansas, Illinois, Houston. I feel like this is a regional final in the Sweet 16. It is going to be outstanding. We talked about the Celtics win last night over the Oklahoma City Thunder and why. Yes, I think Jaylen Brown has taken the next step. And yes, Boston could push OKC if those two teams meet in the finals. I'll still take the Oklahoma City Thunder. And an awesome interview to close the hour with the legendary college basketball coach, the one, the only, Jim Boeheim, on Jerry McNamara, on the NCAA Tournament, and he loves him, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. We'll get more into last night in the NBA, a very newsy night in the NBA, coming up later this hour. I still have to tell everybody the two teams that the NFL absolutely screwed yesterday, and we'll break down all of tonight's games at the end of the show. But joining us right now, we go from one former college basketball coach to another. And I say a lot on this show that we are, I said it yesterday after Brian Anderson joined us, that we are in the golden age of sports play-by-play broadcasters and broadcast teams in general. There are so many electric broadcast teams across all sports, and college basketball is certainly one of them. And you know this, you, our listeners and viewers. I have said for years, that Andrew Catalon and Steve Lappas are extraordinarily underrated. Catalon's amazing, Steve Lappas is amazing, and I love them as a broadcast team, calling college basketball, calling the NCAA Tournament. So a thrill now to welcome to the show the great Steve Lappas, who will be on the call tomorrow in Chicago of Michigan, Bama, and Iowa State, Tennessee in the Midwest region. Here to You Better You Bet on this Thursday. Coach, thanks for joining us. Happy Sweet 16 round, my friend, to you and yours.
Well, thanks for having me, and I'm happy to be in Chicago, one of my favorite towns.
Do you, can we actually start, if it's okay with you, before we talk about the games, with you guys? Like you and Ed. I think you guys are tremendous, and I've said this for years. I'm not just saying this because you're on the show right now. Do you ever feel like you guys might be, I'm going to use this word, you don't have to, like a little underrated? I kind of feel that way. I know a lot of people that feel that way, both in the media and otherwise. Is that a fair approximation? Do you even care? Like, I think you guys are so good.
Well, I really appreciate that. You know, one thing about Andrew and I, we've done like 350 games together. You know, we've been doing this for so long together, and we are really good friends, you know, outside of work. You know, we play golf, we go to dinner, whatever. So, I mean, and he is a tremendous, let me tell you, he is as good a play-by-play guy as there is. And think about what he does. He does golf. He does football. He does basketball. I mean, he is tremendous. And we do have a good thing going. And, you know, I don't really worry about underrated, rated. You know, I'm happy that CBS likes us. That's the most important thing that could happen. And you know, I think my style, too, at times, not Andrew. Andrew is tremendous. I can be a little polarizing, I think, because, you know, my thing is kind of to tell it like it is. And you know, I watch a game. And I watch a game now like I watched it when I was coaching, you know, when I was trying to teach my guys what to do to be better. And obviously, you point out mistakes. You know what I mean? You got to correct mistakes. And because coaches are looking for the perfect game, and I guess I still have a little bit of that. Some people like it, some people don't. It's just kind of who I am.
I'll tell you what, though, even if you didn't use this word, but let's say like it's love and hate, right? That those are the two emotions you inspire. Like those are sides of the same coin. What you don't want, obviously, and this being a successful broadcaster after being a successful coach, is indifference. And there ain't no indifference when people watch you guys call games. And I can't wait to watch it tomorrow on CBS. And, Coach, we'll work our way backwards, right? And I want to get your opinions on the games tonight. But let's start with the games that you guys will be calling tomorrow in the Midwest region. And we'll start with Michigan and Alabama. The Wolverines, obviously, the 1 seed in the region. A pretty sizable favorite over Nate Oates and the Tide. And I like Michigan in the game, and I think Michigan might win this game by double digits, but we've seen Alabama with Nate Oates pull off these upsets in the past. We saw it against North Carolina a number of years ago with the way they can score the basketball. When you sit down and analyze this game, what stands out the most to you, Michigan and Bama?
Well, Michigan is one of the most Michigan has a great chance to break the 25-year drought or 26-year drought, whatever it is, of the Big Ten winning a championship. You think about the year that they've had. They have been, I think, the best team from day one to the end of the year. Yeah, they had their little, at the end of the year, they lost to Duke. They didn't lose to some, they lost to another great team. But they are the most balanced team there is. They have great inside scoring. They have great outside scoring. They are great offensively. They are great defensively. They could play half court. They can run in transition. So this is a team that has got everything it needs. Now, the problem is they're playing that team on Alabama that throws threes up more than anybody in the country. And if Alabama is able to make this game fast, and Michigan likes to play fast, but I don't know if it helps Michigan in this game to play fast because Alabama is the number one team in the country in terms of amount of transition threes and making transition threes. So if this game is more half court, now you get a Dave Maurer more involved. Now you get Maurice Johnson more involved. These guys have tremendous power in the lane. So it'll be interesting to see if Dusty May is happy to make it a track meet with Alabama, or is he going to look to slow it down at times to get the ball inside? Because that's where Alabama is weak. They don't have the inside. Sherrell's a good player, but they don't have a lot of physical guys in the lane, and they're playing a team that can score in the paint. So that part will be interesting to see.
What would you do, Coach, if you were Dusty May in this game? You mentioned a couple scenarios. Which one would you choose?
I would look to go when I can, but I would not hesitate, especially on a made Alabama basket, to come down and pound it on them. So I just don't. Now, obviously, you have to be able to not turn the ball over, but, Alabama doesn't force turnovers, and Michigan is not a team that turns it over. I would look to make a balance. You got to run when you got something good because you've done it successfully all year. You got a kid like Elliot Cadeau, who's a really good point guard, and Lendenberg, who's almost a point guard at 6'9". So, yes, you want to do that. But I would not hesitate, especially on Alabama-made baskets, to go down and pound it in on them. Because if they can get Sherrell in foul trouble, they don't really have another good big guy. The kid Williamson from Bucknell, they don't use him that much. That would be a huge key. So I would do a little bit of both. I would make sure my guys know, listen, don't worry. We can't run it. We're not going to run it. We're going to pound the thing inside.
That's Michigan, Alabama, and Coach. Iowa State, Tennessee maybe gets a little bit overshadowed by Michigan and Alabama, given the national prominence of those programs and Michigan being the 1 seed and one of the best teams in the country all year. I think this game is going to be so fascinating, right? And we don't know yet, and maybe you have some insight for us if Joshua Jefferson's going to play. I think the last we had seen, TJ Otzelberger said Jefferson's going to be a game-time decision for Iowa State and Tennessee. And look, obviously the result of the game is the most important thing, but Otzelberger's name is getting floated out there for the North Carolina job, and maybe he's immune to that sort of thing. Maybe he's heard it. Rick Barnes, everyone wants to say is this tournament choke artist. He's been to a number of consecutive Sweet 16s with the Vols and has a fantastic freshman in Nate Amends. I think this is shaping up to be a tremendous game with Tennessee and Iowa State. How do you see it playing out?
Yeah, I mean, I said it on the air the other day when we saw this was going to be the matchup. I said, these two teams may kill each other because they are both, cut from the same cloth, as they say. I mean, I would say Iowa State a little bit better offensively. Now, as you said, a lot depends on Joshua Jefferson, who's a first-team All-American. I mean, this kid has had an unbelievable year. You're talking about a guy at 6'9" who's had 2 triple-doubles with points, rebounds, and assists. So he obviously is a tremendous part of his team. But these two teams are tremendous defensively. They are both very physical. And that's why, they're both very good offensive rebounding teams. I mean, Tennessee is the best offensive rebounding team in the country. But one of their problems is they get a lot of offensive rebounds, but they also miss a lot of putbacks. They're like 280 in converting offensive rebounds, even though they lead the nation in them. And they also lead the nation in tracking down missed three-point rebounds. So they get it everywhere. And the question is going to be, do they get enough extra possessions to beat this Iowa State team? But I think this is a very compelling game. I am going over to practices now, so I don't know anything about Joshua Jefferson yet. I guess I'll learn something when we go over to the United Center in a few minutes. But, him not playing they did an unbelievable job to do what they did to Kentucky. I mean, they just turned Kentucky over, made life miserable for them. And I think a big part of this game, too, is going to be, can they wear out Jacoby Gillespie? I mean, he is a dominant player for Tennessee. They go as he goes. I'm sure T.J. Otzelberger is going to have something special for him to make him work as hard as he can in those 40 minutes, because he's going to play 40 minutes, or certainly going to play 37, to make it as hard as he can for them.
You bet on this Thursday, the NCAA Tournament back tonight, and we can't wait for it. Our guest, the great Steve Lappas, does an awesome job on the call of the NCAA Tournament games with our friend Andrew Catalon. They will be in Chicago tomorrow for Michigan, Bama, and Tennessee, Iowa State. Coach, would love to get your thoughts on a couple of the other games in the round of 16. And I opened the show by saying, and I don't mean this sincerely, I don't mean it as disrespect to Nebraska or Iowa, done an amazing job, obviously, to get to the round of 16. It feels like, and I can be wrong about this, right? It feels to me, and I'm curious actually if you agree with this, Houston, Illinois tonight, game going to be played in Houston, feels to me like this is a regional final being played in the round of 16. And both of these teams, you can make the case, can go to Indianapolis, could maybe play for the national championship. I'm so excited for it. Small point spread in the game. Like Illinois, Houston tonight, your thoughts on what will happen in this game that we all can't wait to watch?
I totally agree with you on your take of what it feels like. And again, I'm not taking anything away from Iowa and Nebraska. The Iowa, obviously, that was a bigger upset than High Point beating Wisconsin. I think Iowa beating Florida, to be truthful, because I thought Florida was on a mission here with the front court that they had, that they were making it to the national championship game. They didn't, obviously, so give Iowa credit. But this Illinois-Houston game is very compelling. You have an Illinois team that is as good offensively as you're going to find in the country. They have so many weapons. They're big. They're physical. They've had their ups and downs also, and they're playing a Houston team that, truthfully, this is not Kelvin Sampson's best team, not even close. He's done an unbelievable coaching job with this team, to tell you the truth. He's got 2 freshmen starting. He's got a freshman, McCarty, coming off the bench, who's playing really good lately. They don't have really that great size. Tugler is like 6'9". He's not a great scorer. So, I mean, what he's done with this team, I think, has been incredible. And, when you have 2 freshmen in your starting lineup and you still play, and they're not as good defensively as they were last year, but they're pretty damn good, So I think Kelvin Sampson's done an unbelievable job. I think this is going to be a very difficult game for Houston. I think a lot depends on how Kingston Flemings plays, the great freshman that they have, and how Tugler plays. Is he going to be able to score against this Illinois front line? Because I think, and the other thing is, Illinois, we know, is great offensively, but we know what Kelvin Sampson does to great offensive teams. So this is a really compelling matchup. I think I would give Illinois a little bit of an edge in this game, only because I worry a little bit about Houston starting 2 freshmen and whether they're going to play well in this game tonight.
Coach, you are getting me even more excited than I already was to watch these games coming up over the next 2 days, and certainly the weekend. It's going to be magnificent. And, typically we would say a game like Illinois-Houston or the games that you're going to be calling. Like, maybe in the Sweet 16 round, we don't get tons of incredible games. Just the East region is ridiculous. And those games will be tomorrow, right? With Duke against Rick Pitino and St. John's. And obviously you and Andrew did the UConn games last week, and Alex Caraban's awesome game against UCLA to send the Huskies to the Sweet 16. Danny Hurley and UConn against Tom Izzo and Michigan State. I would just kind of love for you just to talk to us about the East region and how you see these games playing out over this weekend and who you think ultimately emerges from the East to go to Indianapolis in the Final Four.
Well, I'm thoroughly annoyed that, number one, they're playing the same night we're doing our games.
Right.
Because if there was something I want to see, or obviously even better call, it would be this region. I mean, from the day that the bracket came out, you saw this was the toughest region. And here it is, exactly kind of what we thought it was going to be, except, you could argue St. John's or Kansas, but the chalk is there for everybody else. This is an unbelievable region. I mean, you think about St. John's, they haven't been to a Sweet 16 since 1999. They got Rick Pitino there, who they hired. And, I'll be honest with you, when they hired him, I said, St. John's is back. And, they hadn't been there for a while, but this guy, that's all he does is win. That's it. And now he's going against Duke. Now, I think obviously Duke has a tremendous advantage. The one thing I saw about Duke that was impressive during the year was what they did to Michigan at the end of the year, and that they were able, more than anything else, to destroy them in the paint, not allow Michigan to score, and they themselves score in the paint. And I think that's going to be where St. John's is going to get hurt. It's going to be hard for Ejiofor, I think, to get a lot done in this game. Now, is Gumba back? He played 13 minutes last week. I'm going to think with more weeks rest, he's hopefully going to be able to play. I think St. John's has a lot of trouble scoring inside against Duke, and I don't think they have an answer for Boozer or Isaiah Evans. But, hey, the guy coaching St. John's, he's pretty good, so, we can't count him out.
Coach, I love this. This got me so excited, so jacked. I can't wait to watch you and listen to you and Andrew tomorrow night on the games in the Midwest region, Michigan and Alabama, Tennessee and Iowa State. You are awesome. I really enjoyed this. Thank you very much. Have a great call, and we hope to do this again down the line.
Thank you so much for having me on.
The coach, Steve Lappas, joining us here on the show. That is someone that adores college basketball and knows everything about every team. You notice, right? He's not calling Illinois-Houston. That didn't stop him from knowing everything about both teams with his answer, and Tugler maybe being a little undersized. Man, just from a selfish perspective, all of us, right? I know Kenny likes Illinois. Tyler, we all have Illinois, right? This is a big show thing here tonight. We all kind of need, yeah, Tyler, yeah, we've all got him. What could possibly go wrong? We all have Illinois tonight against the Houston Cougars. At the end of the show, we will give you all our bets. That will be Illinois-Houston. That'll be Iowa-Nebraska, Arizona-Arkansas, Texas, and Purdue. John Ewing from BetMGM will join us at the end of the hour. He'll tell us how people are betting the round of 16, if there are any nuggets for you, our listener and viewer, to take away as you look to play some wagers coming up for the tournament. So sometimes I find myself in this spot, just always really honest with the audience, where there's so much good stuff to talk about. I'm not really sure what we should do next. It's either going to be the two teams that the NFL screwed, and we'll talk about Daniel Jeremiah's quotes yesterday on the show about Fernando Mendoza and Ty Simpson, or we've got 9 NBA topics to go over. I'll confer with the crew here on You Better You Bet, and we'll figure it out. So one of those two things will be coming up next. 310-840-4910, youtube.com/@thekostos. Thank you for joining us on a Thursday on Westwood One Sports.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you can talk to different people, but I have not talked to anyone that has that. So, and that's not saying that, saying anything untrue. He just is talking to different folks, apparently the folks that I've been talking to, but I have not. And that goes obviously from the Raiders and a bunch of other teams too. And it wasn't particularly close.
Now, back to You Better You Bet with Nick Kostos on Westwood One Sports.
The voice of the great Daniel Jeremiah of NFL Media, Move the Sticks podcast, 40s and Free Agents with our buddy Greg Rosenthal, who joined us yesterday on the show. So because that interview was at 11:25 a.m. Eastern time, right, and then it runs up until the end of the show, we didn't really get a chance to react to it in the moment. There was a lot of pretty awesome stuff there from Jeremiah, both in terms of the analysis of what's going to happen in the top 10 picks of the draft, and he thinks there's a clear difference between Sonny Styles and like Caleb Downs and Arvell Reese. He loves Sonny Styles. He doesn't think Caleb Downs is maybe as elite as some other people do. I loved his thoughts on the receivers and watch out for Omar Cooper and Mendoza way better than Ty Simpson, and Carson Beck would be his choice of a quarterback once you get beyond those two. So lots of interesting nuggets there from Daniel Jeremiah on the NFL draft. But none more interesting than that, the soundbite we just played you coming back from break. Because if you follow sports at all, that it's been a huge story thus far this week because ESPN's Dan Orlovsky has said that he thinks Simpson is better than Mendoza, which is, whether you agree or disagree, like he's welcome to his opinion. And Daniel Jeremiah did back him up and say, like they were texting about it last week. Like, I want to just go on the record here. Like, not that, like, my opinion is the be-all, end-all. I don't think there's anything sinister going on here. I absolutely do not think that that's the case. But Orlovsky kind of crossed, and I don't mean this as a criticism of him, and, like, neither did Jeremiah. I'm sure that he talked to people. But I found it interesting, right? Where Dan Orlovsky kind of traipses over the line of, here's my opinion, to I'm now reporting something. Because, like, I can say, spinach tastes better than pizza. That's my opinion, right? But if I say, hey, I talked to 100 people and 85 of them agree, like, probably not true, right? Opinion versus a report. So Orlovsky says, I talked to people, there are teams that believe this also. I want to, again, be crystal clear, because this is a sensitive point for people, right? I am not accusing him of lying. I am sure that he has spoken to people that believe that. I just don't think it's the majority. And when Daniel Jeremiah comes on the air, and Orlovsky's his friend. He's not trying to make Dan Orlovsky look bad. But look, he's going to be honest. He hasn't talked to anybody that said that. Very, very, very interesting, right? As this debate, it's not really a debate. Mendoza's going to go first overall. But this is something that's going to rage here over the course of the next month. So that was fascinating, right? Here's Dan Orlovsky telling you teams like Simpson better. And there's Dan Jeremiah telling us he hasn't talked to one team that thinks that, and the teams that he has spoken to don't think it's close in the evaluation between the two. Different people and different teams can think different things. I'm not accusing anyone of lying. I'm sure they're both telling the truth. It is interesting, though, what both of them have said. And it will be interesting to follow over the course of the next week. I want to punch home a point before we do some NFL news. Punch home a point that I made yesterday in the interview with Daniel Jeremiah, and he co-signed it to a degree. And I didn't know if he was going to. And if you go back and listen to the interview, the way that I phrased the question to him was, hey, like, feel free to tell me if I'm being hyperbolic or I'm being prisoner of the moment here, because I might be, and I acknowledge that. That once we get past Mendoza going first overall to the Raiders, this draft is wide ass open. Where you can look at mock drafts, right? And we still have some time. But you can look at mock drafts from all the reputable people that do mock drafts. Not like me when I used to, like, hit the bong and do them for Bleacher Report like a decade and a half ago. Not that. But the reputable mock drafters, yeah, they're all going to have Mendoza going first overall. Maybe one has Arvell Reese going second to the Jets. Maybe one has David Bailey going second overall to the Jets, the Texas Tech pass rusher. Maybe one has Ruben Bain going second overall to the Jets, the Miami pass rusher. This could go in so many different ways, right? At Arizona at 3, is it an edge rusher, whomever the Jets don't take, or maybe the Jets don't take one? Is it Sonny Styles, as the team looks to add more talent on defense? Is it Miami offensive lineman Francis Mauigoa? And I just want to say, I'm very proud of myself that I already know how to pronounce this name on March 26th. Francis Mauigoa is the Miami offensive lineman. The G is silent in his last name. Mauigoa. Could Arizona take him to play right tackle with Paris Johnson entrenched on the left? How about the Tennessee Titans at 4? Could they actually take a running back at this point in their rebuild in Jeremiah Love? Feels like it's possible. Or is Robert Saleh going to look to add more juice on the edge, even though they brought over a couple of players on defense this offseason? Here's John Franklin Myers. Here's Jermaine Johnson. Could they take Ruben Bain? Could they take a corner at number 4? My Giants at 5. Are they a Mauigoa team? And he'd play guard next to Jermaine Illuminor with Andrew Thomas on the left. Are they a Carnell Tate team? Could the Giants be a Jeremiah Love team? And then there's the Cleveland Browns at 6. You bet on this Thursday. Nick Kostos here with you, Westwood One Sports. And this actually dovetails in with an extraordinary, under-the-radar bit of NFL news. Because you would see it on like the ticker on TV or at the bottom of our screen here on You Bet on what we call like the lower, or you'd see it in prints in the, I don't know who reads newspapers, but you go to a website and it's a headline and you probably would think nothing of it. That headline is that the Cleveland Browns have reworked the contract of star pass rusher, reigning defensive player of the year, just set the sack record, the alien known as Myles Garrett. You'd see that news and just think, okay, whatever. Maybe they're trying to clear up. Whatever it is, right? You move past it. You don't give it a second thought. But if you look a little deeper under the hood, and that's why I'm here, right? I do this so you don't have to. You can like go outside and play with your children while I'm shooting Instagram videos and like grinding Cleveland Browns transactions at night. That's what I get paid for. And then I can talk about it and educate you and inform you and entertain you talking about it. Myles Garrett and this reworking of the deal by the Browns has made his contract way more tradable. Now, I'm not going to bore you with the details as to why. Also, I don't really understand them. It's like, deferred money to this date, whatever. All that matters is that Myles Garrett's contract is more tradable today than it was last week. Now, remember last year that Myles Garrett was kind of like, he put that statement out, like, hey, I kind of want to go win, and then the Browns were like, well, how about money instead? And he took the money. Great. Here's another speeding violation, which is like, he's not just speeding, he's going, like, he's like a dangerous driver. We all make mistakes, right? I'm not saying he's a bad person. In fact, he seems like a pretty good dude. There were reports that he wasn't in contact with the coaching staff at the end of the year. Maybe that'll change this year with the new coaching staff at Todd Monken. I have no idea. But here's what I do know. And let's take this just off the Myles Garrett prism for just a second from him personally, and let's talk about the Cleveland Browns. And I actually want to draw a parallel with the Browns and the Las Vegas Raiders. I have been saying about the Raiders since last season, since before last season even started, there's no reason for Max Crosby to be on this team. Like, he's too good. You're not even close to being ready to contend. And that was like the Raiders like fooled themselves, deluded themselves into thinking that last offseason. You're not close, and he's too good. Trade him, and let's like supercharge this rebuild. And the Raiders clearly know that. They traded him to the Ravens. I still think, no matter what they say, I think Max Crosby will be playing elsewhere this season. It makes no sense for them to keep him. Zero. You can also make the case that there's no reason for Myles Garrett to be on the 2026 Cleveland Browns. I will often bring up the anecdote of, and my apologies if you heard me say this like 50 times at this point, but I feel like it's apropos. That former Giants general manager, the legendary George Young, doesn't sign linebacker Brad Van Pelt in the 80s to an extension. And when asked why, and I'm paraphrasing, George Young basically says, hey, like, we lost 1 million games with you and you're really good. We can lose 1 million games without you if you're not here. Great. Myles Garrett set the sack record last year. That's a thing that happened. He won Defensive Player of the Year. Also, the Browns went 5-12 and they're picking 6th overall in the draft. What's the point? What's the point? Now, if you really want to put on the tinfoil hat, do you remember we talked about last week on the show? You know, kind of something that got buried a little bit under the headline of the tush push is basically not going to be under review this year, right? That no tush push review, right? We talked about the referees and potential for replacement refs. And the other news item that we talked about being up for conversation at the owners' meetings, the Cleveland Browns proposed draft picks can be traded 5 years in advance as opposed to 3. 5 years as opposed to 3. Now, I said on the show, I firmly disagree with that because you'll end up with a bunch of GMs and organizations and hierarchies who feel like they need to win now to save their jobs. What do they care about a first-round pick in 5 years? If they don't win this year, they're not going to be around anyway. So I don't like that. And again, this is conspiracy theory stuff here. Put your tinfoil hat on. Do you think the Browns are looking maybe for a massive haul for Myles Garrett? Could it be possible? Let me ask a better question. Why would they keep him? Ask yourself this, even if you're a Cleveland Browns fan. What is the benefit of keeping him? You're not close to contending. Your quarterback of the future is not only not on the roster now, with apologies to Shadur Sanders. I'm sorry, he's not a hater, just telling the truth, and isn't going to be in the draft. What is the point of Myles Garrett remaining on this roster? Something to think about as we approach the NFL draft. Last NFL note for today on the show, and John Ewing will join us next segment, and we'll talk about the game of the night tonight in the world of sports. So yesterday, and we knew that the Rams and the 49ers were going to end up playing an international game in Australia. Like, that had been announced a while back. I actually think, and this, it sounds like a hot take, but it is the truth. I think the NFL screwed the Rams and the 49ers. And I'm not a Rams fan or a 49ers fan, although, like, I am going to bet the Niners to win the Super Bowl this year, and I acknowledge that. So here are some facts that I'm going to lay out, and then I'm going to tell you how they got screwed, and you aren't going to be able to disagree with me. Ready? Here are the facts, right? Fact number 1. The NFC West has 3 teams that can legitimately win the Super Bowl this year. Fact. Now, obviously, if like Matthew Stafford gets hurt, like the Rams can't, but like you understand what I mean, right? Assuming health to the principal players. Those 3 teams, the reigning defending Super Bowl champion Seattle Seahawks, the Los Angeles Rams, and the San Francisco 49ers, who all played on divisional weekend this year in the NFC playoffs, and 2 played on championship Sunday. And the Niners weren't healthy at all and still made it to the divisional round. So that's a fact. 3 teams can win the Super Bowl this year. Seattle, San Francisco, and Los Angeles. Fact number 2. The Seattle Seahawks, as winners of the Super Bowl, as is custom, open the NFL season at home. Generally, that game is played on a Thursday night. But because the NFL is, and I love it more than anybody, because the NFL is exceptionally greedy, the Seahawks will now open the NFL season this year on a Wednesday night. Wednesday night, the Wednesday after Labor Day. And that's because the Niners and the Rams will play the first game of the season in Australia against each other on Thursday night in the United States and Friday morning in Australia. Think about that. Super Bowl contenders that play in the same division have to open their season on Thursday night / Friday morning in Australia. Not Los Angeles, not San Francisco, not Mexico, not England, not Germany, not Spain. No, Australia. While the Seahawks open their season on Wednesday night at home. So heading into week 2, Seattle has extra rest, and maybe they'll end up playing on Thursday night in week 2 to make this fair. That I don't know yet. And maybe the Niners and Rams, we'll see if one of them plays Monday night. I don't know how they're going to try and make this fair, but as it stands right now, this is a total screw job for the Niners and the Rams. A total screw job. This is like Montreal in November 1997. The Rams and the Niners didn't screw the Rams and the Niners. The NFL screwed the Rams and the 49ers. Brett might have screwed Brett, but the NFL has screwed the Rams and the Niners here, where their biggest competition, the team that just won the Super Bowl, plays before them and now is scheduled to get more rest heading into week 2. The NFL can maybe fix this, and we'll see what happens when the schedule comes out, and if and when they do, I will rescind this opinion. And I will say, okay, they've made this at least a little more fair. But even if that happens, and this goes back to last year with the Chiefs and the Chargers, like, you want to have Green Bay and Philly play in Brazil on the opening Friday night of the season. Okay. Like, yes, they're both Super Bowl contenders entering that season, but they don't play in the same division. Like, I get it to a degree. I don't like it, but I get it. Chiefs-Chargers last year. Like, I don't like the idea of these huge divisional matchups play international in week 1. I don't like it. And this is not like, Giants, Commanders, 2 teams that probably can't win the Super Bowl this year. It's not like that. It's not like this is Bengals, Browns, like Jets, Dolphins. That's not what this is. It's Niners, Rams. We know they're Super Bowl contenders. Australia, week 1, come on. The game matters too much. It should be in San Francisco or Los Angeles, period, end of story. 310-840-4910, youtube.com/@thekostos. We'll take a quick break, and on the other side, our buddy John Ewing joins us to get you, and selfishly me, set to bet the round of 16 in the NCAA Tournament here on Westwood One Sports.
at a national title. We do know that they are moving on to the Sweet 16.
Now, back to You Better You Bet with Nick Kostos on Westwood One Sports.
The end of the Illinois VCU game on Saturday, setting up Illinois-Houston tonight. Can't wait for it. I can't wait to bet it. We got 6 awesome minutes coming up with our friend John Ewing from BetMGM in just a moment. And speaking of BetMGM, we want you to get in on the fun of a new baseball season with a no-sweat token from BetMGM. If you don't win your bet with the token attached, you'll get your stake back in bonus bets. Log into your BetMGM account to receive your token and download the BetMGM app today. Joining us right now, the man with the plan for our friends at BetMGM. He's got all the information, the great John Ewing. Follow him on Twitter, @John Ewing. My friend, happy Sweet 16 to you and yours. How's it going?
What's up, Nick? Sweet 16 plus opening day in MLB. I mean, today's a great day.
It is a great betting day, and we will give you all our bets at the end of the show. John, let's do the NCAA tournament here. Tonight and tomorrow, what are the most bet games, liability for the sports books? Hit us with all the information for our listeners and viewers.
It's probably not going to surprise you, but the most bet games are basically in order of their start times, Thursday to Friday. People are just coming at these games in waves, and we'll see more and more action as each one tips off. So let's just start at Purdue, Texas. A little bit of line movement in this one. Boilers, 7.5-point favorites. It dipped down to 6, went back up this morning. About 80% of money is on Purdue to cover. They've covered 9 straight games as favorites in the NCAA tournament. Of course, Texas has won 3 in a row as underdogs. Which trend do you come down on? What side do you think gets the win here in the Sweet 16?
Yeah, I think I think Vokatitis is going to ball out tonight for Texas against Purdue. If I had to bet that game, John, I actually think I'd bet Texas to cover the spread. Who am I kidding? I am going to bet the game, and I'm going to take the points with Texas. All right, that's the first game tonight. What can you tell us about Iowa, Nebraska, Arkansas, Arizona, Illinois, Houston? Anything interesting in those 3 games?
A really interesting trend on Iowa. Obviously, they had the huge upset of Florida in the round of 32, winning as 10.5-point underdogs. Since 2002, only 6 other teams have done that and played a game in the Sweet 16 or later. They're 0-6 straight up, 1-5 against the spread. So a lot of things had to go right for Iowa to win that game. It's a small sample size, but history suggests these teams have a hard time pulling the rabbit out of their hat again when they play in the next game. So Nebraska potentially set up here as a small favorite to advance to the Elite Eight.
Yeah, I think I liked Iowa early in the week, maybe Nebraska now. What about Arkansas, Arizona tonight, John?
John Calipari, 9-3-1 against the spread as an underdog in the NCAA tournament, 7-1 against the spread when getting more than 4 points. They're getting 7.5 right now. It opened 8.5. And the majority of bets and money are coming in on the Hogs. So a lot of people believe in John Calipari. A lot of people believe in Acuff getting the points.
Yeah, I think Arizona wins by double digits. It might be my favorite bet tonight, along with this next one. Oh, I love Arizona.
Hating the public, hating the trend. Okay.
You know, honestly, I think if Arizona can just stop Acuff, which is obviously easier said than done, I don't know how Arkansas stays competitive. Arizona is way better than Arkansas, and I'm acknowledging, of course, Arkansas can win. It's a one game, right? Arkansas can win. Houston, Illinois.
And Arizona has jumped out. Sorry, Arizona now a favorite with Michigan to cut down the nets in the NCAA tournament. Both of those teams, though, good outcomes for the sports books. Any of the ones winning, in fact, would be good for the book.
Even Duke.
Even Duke.
What about Illinois, Houston tonight? Game played in Houston. I think my guess would be split action on this game. How are people betting Illinois, Houston tonight?
Yeah, I mean, rock versus a hard place here. Illinois, maybe perhaps the best offense in the tournament. Houston, one of the best defenses. What's going to happen here? We're seeing betting coming in on the Cougs, and as you said, this game's being played in Texas, in fact, in Houston. The 11th time Houston's played a game in the state of Texas for the NCAA tournament. They went 7-3 in the previous 10, including 3-0 when they play in Houston. It's going to be home court advantage for them. Bettors think they get it done as a small favorite.
And last one here, Duke St. John's tomorrow. Obviously still a lot of time before that. What can you tell us about this? Probably the most anticipated game of the round of 16.
Yeah, we're seeing 65% of bets on St. John's, but a majority of money is on Duke. 6.5-point favorites here, so we kind of got a split between the pros and Joes. A lot of people like St. John's. We've seen them cover. Rick Pitino as a dog of 5 or more points in the NCAA tournament is 6-2 against the spread. So historically, they've done well, but as you said, Duke is one of the best teams in the country. The total is really interesting, I think. Open 143.5, down to 141.5. Both of these teams top 10 in defensive efficiency, and we've seen the under go 10-3 in NCAA tournament games in the John Shire era.
We have a hard 10 seconds for this answer. What do you have a favorite bet that you are placing today in either baseball or college basketball? 10 seconds for the answer. We're coming up against the break.
It's my Cardinals. I'm a homer. I'm going to go to opening day. Let's hope they get a win for me.
All right, so who's St. Louis even playing today? Oh, hosting the Tampa Bay Rays, and yeah, that'll be one of the most anticipated games of the day. No disrespect. Follow John on Twitter at John Ewing.
They're not good.
Doing an awesome job for our friends at BetMGM. Enjoy opening day, my man, with the Cardinals and the Rays.
Thank you.
Final hour, power hour, coming up next here on You Better You Bet. How about Christopher Mad Dog Russo joining us in moments here on Westwood One Sports?
Now, back to You Better You Bet with Nick Kostos and the crew. Presented by BetMGM on Westwood One Sports.
Bring it up, Kenny. Final hour. Power hour. You Better You Bet on Westwood One Sports. Nick Kostos, our amazing crew, Christopher Mad Dogg Russo, and you. The Power Hour and every hour here on You Better You Bet, brought to you by BetMGM. Make it legendary by downloading the BetMGM app and visiting BetMGM.com. What a treat this is right now. Joining us live on the line, the legendary Christopher Mad Dogg Russo. Mad Dog Unleashed, Sirius XM. First Take on ESPN. And the verdict is back on Vice. Season 2 debuted a couple days ago, Ohtani versus Ruth. Last year, they did a 3-week special on Brady versus Belichick, who was more important to the Patriots dynasty. Other episodes coming up this season. Doggy, I know, will be in all his glory. For Federer versus Nadal versus Djokovic, Jack Nicklaus versus Tiger Woods, Muhammad Ali versus Mike Tyson, and better two-sport athlete, Bo Jackson or Deion Sanders. New episodes airing Tuesday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern on Vice. The Doggy joins us now here on You Better You Bet. Doggy, great to be here. Nicky Kostos here on Westwood One Sports. How are you?
I got to hire you as a PR guy. You couldn't have done that any better. My goodness gracious, especially with the Vice thing, with the verdict. Excellent job there. Doing well. How are you doing today? Things good? What's on your mind?
I got to tell you, I'm feeling great. Can I be honest with you? Our mutual friend Billy Z wrote that for me, and I read it. So Bill gets the credit.
Oh, well, the bottom line is you read it well, and you read it like you knew what you're talking about, and nobody likes Billy Z more than me. Billy was our producer for a long time at Sirius XM. The famous line was when they said we're going to bring Christopher Russo in 2008, and he's going to do 2 to 7, and Bill said there is no way anybody in America can do 5 hours a day on Sirius, and Bill was convinced that we had no chance to do it, and I told Bill, I can do it. And for 5 years I did. So there you go. But there is nobody, and I've known Bill for a long time, there is nobody who knows the intricacies and has got the brains and knows how to maneuver a show better than Bill Zimmerman. I mean that. He's very good. He's an excellent sports talk guy. Excellent.
Billy's the best. And Doggy, we have Bill has a surprise for you coming up at the end of the segment, which we very much look. Oh, it's going to be a good one. I want to start with this. I'm fascinated by this, Doggy, and like I turn 43 in a couple months. I feel like I'm kind of like a boomer at 42, going to be 43. I watched and you know I'm a Yankees fan. I know you're a Giants fan, right? So I'm sure you're watching the game last night on Netflix. I like don't understand all this pomp and circumstance, and I don't know who like this comedian is that keeps taking his shirt off, and I don't know why we need Jameis Winston with the crab legs during a baseball game. I'm fascinated for Christopher Mad Dogg Russo's thoughts on Netflix's opening game broadcast of the Yankees and the Giants last night.
I couldn't agree with you more. Plus, they embarrassed the commissioner. They put him on during the top of an inning, and it lasted 90 seconds. And actually asked him 4 questions, and that was the end of that. You don't do that to the commissioner. You put him on for 90 seconds. The first question was for your first opening day, which was confusing, as I think they meant to ask the question in his life, and he took it as in baseball, and he said 88. The second question was, okay, how did you fall in love with baseball? Which, again, and he brought up 68 when he went to a Yankee Twin game, as you saw. I've heard that story before. He's told me because he loved Mickey Mantle. And then the third question was something about the ABS, system. And the fourth question, whatever it may have been. A terrible job. Jameis Winston, I can't figure it out. I'm 100% in agreement. The idea that we're going to do a freaking Let Netflix do White Sox Rockies in the middle of August. I mean, what are you doing giving them the opener? Yes Network, which does the Yankees all year long, that does all the grunt work. They can't get the first game of the year when they get a little buzz and they get some people talking about it. SNY today, NBC, that I don't understand either. The one thing about NBC, at least that's a contract. They're going to do games all year. I mean, Netflix is a one-off. So I was really down on it. But yeah, I don't want to see Barry Bonds anywhere near. I understand he's a giant, but Bonds could not do any interviews outside of San Francisco. I'm not interested in that either. And showing the home run number out there in right center field. Did you ask Henry Aaron if that was okay? I'm not into that. So yeah, I had major problem. And the game started at 8:25. All right, start the game at 8:00 for crying out loud. Jesus. 8:25. I mean, come on. Games are long enough. I got to sit there. I got games the next Thursday and Friday with the tournament where I'm going to be up to 3, and that's long too, where I'm going to be up to 2 a.m. Can you start the game at 8:00? So I did not like anything about that Netflix presentation. I understand that the NFL does it. I understand they're doing it for $1. It's money, but to me, it's a cheap way to do it. And I did it yesterday on First Take, so this is not a second guess. I did it yesterday as a mad about. I couldn't stand it. So there you go. How's that in a nutshell? You like all that? That's how I feel.
No, I didn't like it. I loved it. And I actually would like to and there was so much bad with it, Chris, that I hope that you can respect me asking this follow-up question, because you could actually answer this in like 13 different ways. Outside of the Manfred interview, which you already referenced, what is the one thing that bothered you the most about the broadcast last time? Maybe it could be Bonds, maybe it's something else. There are a lot of choices potentially.
I'll give you one. Winston. Why is Jameis Winston, who's got a very checkered past, by the way, why does Jameis Winston? I don't understand. Why? Because he pitched in Florida State. Who cares? Why is Jameis Winston involved in this? I could not figure that out. What is their fascination with a third-string quarterback? I mean, not really. He's not a Giant fan. He's not from San Francisco. I mean, God. I mean, Jameis Winston, I did not understand the fascination that Netflix had with Jameis Winston. Listen, I thought baseball, and again, they've had a great run. The World Series was wonderful. The postseason, the new rules, give the commissioner credit for that. I think the ABS system will be fun. They had a wonderful, I'm not in love with it. It's gimmicky to me, but I'm not going to argue with the ratings. They had a very, very good early March with the WBC. I mean, geez, the Venezuela-USA game drew 11 million last week. The NBA Finals, Oklahoma City and Indiana in Game 2, did 8.5 million. I understand it's the USA on a jersey, but still, that's all you need to know. They've had a great run, but this one was an absolute disaster. I mean, to sit there, and I don't know how much they possibly got. And the idea that somehow, some way, that, this is globalization, it's not. People in Japan love baseball. They don't need Netflix. They love baseball anyway. People in South America, Venezuela, Colombia, all these countries, they love baseball. The Caribbean, they love baseball. And if you're trying to get Europe involved, well, the game's at 3:00 in the morning. There's a time difference. Nobody in London's getting up to see the Giants and Yankees at 2 a.m. or 1 a.m. I mean, it's mind-boggling. So Winston bothered me the most. And then, of course, the start of the game, Nick, 8:25 is ridiculous. You can't start a ball. Put the game on at 8:05. Gee whiz. I mean, that drove me crazy. This nonsense with the pregame show. Play the game, for crying out loud. Play the game.
And it was like, it said 8:05, and you turn it on expecting the game to start at 8:05, and now here's these taxi cabs and this comedian I've never heard of, and he's in a canoe. I do want to. I'm actually really interested, Dog, in your take on Barrett.
And I'll bring this up to the one thing about that with the Giants. I've had enough over the last 20 years with these kayakers looking for home runs in the stupid McCovey Cove. All right, I dressed up in these stupid outfits, waiting to get a home run ball in with their canoes. That's a little played out. How about the Giants win 100 games and then we'll worry about the canoes. I'm a little played out with that as far as that San Francisco scene is concerned. But
I don't know. It's kind of like they kind of strike me as like the sports fan equivalent of the people that go to Times Square for New Year's Eve and stand there and piss their pants and wear diapers all day. I don't really get it either.
That's a good comparison.
I'm actually interested in what you said about, and obviously you're a lifelong huge San Francisco Giants fan, right? I'm fascinated that you didn't like Bonds on the pregame, and I'm just gonna say, like, I really liked Bonds because he's Barry Bonds, and Bonds is one of these guys, right?
I'm going to be fair on this. Yeah, I'm going to be fair on this. I didn't see Bonds enough to really get a good read on him. But
can I tell you what you'll think basically? And I'm not trying to speak for you here, but I think you'd agree with this. I don't think like you would watch him and think he's a television natural. Like he's not coming out there and knocking you dead with analysis or delivery. It's more just like he's Barry Bonds talking about baseball. Like that's why, Doggy, I grooved on it a little bit in the pregame.
Yeah, listen, I understand that, but to me, what they've tried to do is legitimize Bonds. You could not do Bonds in any other city in America on opening day but San Francisco. If that game was at Yankee Stadium, nobody wants to hear from Barry Bonds. No New Yorker wants to hear from Barry Bonds. I can tell you that right now. But since the game is in San Francisco, I guess it works. I just don't like the idea that the last 15 years we try to sanitize Barry Bonds. Oh, he was a Hall of Famer before steroids. He's an all-time great and all this nonsense. We've looked a little differently at the steroid. There's other steroid guys in the Hall of Fame, blah, blah, blah. The bottom line is that Bonds was an all-time great, and he cheated. And he ruined the record books. Bonds and McGuire, he's not the only one, and Palmeiro and, Sosa, they ruined the record books. And I am a guy who loves the baseball history, who loves all that scenario, but all those cheaters, and there's a ton of them, and Bonds is the leader in the pack, McGuire's second, they ruined the historical aspect of the home run. There's no other argument. They ruined it. They made 50 homers not a big deal. I mean, they made the 500 home run club. I mean, not a big deal. And I am not going to sit here now 20 years later and, say, you know what, no big deal, let's move on. And steroids is an old thing. And, it's not even a bad deal anyway. I'm not doing that, okay? Henry Aaron didn't do it. Bud Selig didn't do it. Reggie Jackson, ask him what he feels about that. He hates it too. I'm not going to all of a sudden now, with bated breath, wait for Barry Bonds' analysis of baseball teams. And I'll tell you right now, I find it ironic, and nobody asked him last night, Barry, how's it going to feel on the Hall of Fame on July 26th when Kent's getting in and you're not? How's it going to feel? Question. And Kent deserves to be in, by the way.
That's a great question.
And nobody asked it yesterday. Barry, does it bother you? How about when you got Barry Bonds on there? How about somebody asking Barry, does it bother you? How do you feel when your teammate Jeff Kent, who you played with for 5 or 6 years and had a up and down relationship, but you were very good together? How does it feel? How's it going to feel in July when he's inducted and you can't get in? I like that answer. They had 20 minutes to ask him that, and nobody asked it. Now, it's a gutsy question, but I would have liked to hear the answer. How's that? So I'm down on Bonds. I don't want to hear from him.
Christopher Mad Dog Russo here with us on You Better You Bet, Westwood One Sports with Nick Kostos. The Verdict, Season 2, debuted a couple days ago. Tuesdays, 9 p.m. Eastern for more episodes hosted by the Doggy, Mad Dog Unleashed, First Take on ESPN. So, the true story, I was telling Billy Z this, Dog, during the break. I'm driving I think it was Tuesday, all the days bleed together, a couple days ago, and I'm listening to your show on Sirius, and you've got Mike Vaccaro on, longtime great columnist for the New York Post, and you're talking about George Steinbrenner and his relationship with Billy Martin, and the ultimate compliment you can pay in radio, right, is I get to my house, and I sit there in the car, and I listen to it for like another 10 minutes before I ultimately had to go in the house to take care of my daughter. So that's kind of serendipitous, right, because we have you on the show now. And last night on Netflix, Bonds is talking about how he almost signed with the Yankees back in the day and had a conversation with George Steinbrenner, and he hung up the phone on George and then signed with the San Francisco Giants. I'm guessing you've heard this story before. Can you provide some context for this? Like, you're a walking encyclopedia on Bonds maybe potentially having signed with the Yankees.
I did not know about that. Vaccaro mentioned it not as in detail. He mentioned that in his book about the Yankees with Bonds. So from that perspective, I wasn't shocked when I didn't hear him say it live last night, but people were telling me about it. But I do think that Mike mentioned his book, and that book on Steinbrenner is as good a book as you're going to read. It's 90% George and 10% Hal, even more than that, 95 to 5%. And, he's got all those great anecdotes, and that's one of them, and great storylines. Listen, that was a tremendous move by McGowan. That move was made after the 92 season. McGowan, then the Giant owner who grew up on the East Side and was a huge Giants fan and remembers where Bobby Thompson and the home run and everything else. I knew Peter pretty well. Pretty well. Knew him well enough. And he loved Thompson. And that was a situation where he had just bought the team. They almost moved to the Trop in Tampa or in St. Pete. They didn't. He bought the team. He saved the team. Don't forget, they were going to have that stadium built before the earthquake, and then that went by the board. And, that winter, he gave Bonds, I think it was a $43 million 7-year contract. I think that was the number. And I remember that. It was like on a Friday night. And that was a great signing. And Bonds was a great Giant. Nobody's going to argue with that. Right off the bat, Bonds was a great Giant. And I did not realize that he blew off George. Now, remember, that was right when George either was suspended by Vincent or had just gotten off the suspended list. One or the other. It's right around that period. Remember, Vincent suspended him in 90 or 91 for the Howard Spearer thing, and it was a lifetime ban. And then George got reinstated. I don't know the exact date, so I don't know if, in fact, George made the call when he wasn't supposed to, or he made the call when he got immediately back. But I think there was no way he was getting Bonds anyway. I think the Willie Mays scenario, I think, playing, because it was his godfather, I think playing in a city where his father played, new ownership, McGowan, a huge Giant fan, I think he was going to San Francisco myself, and thank God, because he was great. Anyway, and, to be fair to Bonds, 93, he was incredible. He had 46 homers, he had 126 RBIs. The third to last game of the season when the Giants had to win to match Atlanta in that great pennant race, I think he hit 2 homers, a double, and 7 RBIs against the Dodgers to keep us in it. He batted 5th that year. Remember, Clark batted 3rd, Matt Williams batted 4th, and he batted 5th. He didn't he didn't moan and groan about it. Reggie did when he batted 5th for the Yankees in '77, and he didn't like that. Bonds, who was a cleanup hitter or a number 3 hitter for Pittsburgh, never said a peep. He was perfect at 5th. That was a great, not a good, that was a great Giant team. And I could make the argument, where I lived and died every pitch that year, I could make an argument, despite the fact they've won 3 titles, that may be the best Giant team they've had. The 2 best teams the Giants had in San Francisco, I could make the argument, are the 62 team that lost to the Yankees in Game 7 and that 93 team. They had 2 20-game winners in Billy Swift and John Burkett. They won 103 games. The Braves won 104. The Giants were 8.5 ahead in mid-August. They fell 3.5 back. They won 15 of 17 to get even going into the last day. And they had won the first 3 games of that series against the Dodgers. And then they got murdered on the Sunday 13-1, while the Braves are beating the Rockies for the 13th consecutive time, and the Braves end up winning the division. And I think the Giants took something out of the Braves because they then proceeded to lose to the Phillies. And by the way, the Giants owned the Phillies that year. They would have beaten them. I think the Giants would have won the whole thing.
And the Blue Jays. They would have beaten the Blue Jays in the 93 World Series also. They would have beaten the Blue Jays, right, in the World Series.
I think they would have, too. And I've talked to Dusty about this on a couple of occasions. They pitched Solomon Torres, not to get into the 93 Giants, but they pitched Solomon Torres in the last game of the year, and Dusty took a lot of hits for that because he was a rookie pitcher. They didn't pitch Scott Sanderson, and Dusty said he did that because in 1980, in the last game of the year, when the Dodgers are catching Houston, they begged Tommy Lasorda to pitch Fernando in the last game against the Astros, because this is before Fernando won a Rookie of the Year in 81. This is 80. The Astros went to L.A. They were up 3 games with 3 to go. The Dodgers swept them, so they had to play a Monday afternoon, and they begged him to pitch Fernando, and instead he pitched Dave Goltz, 7-1 Houston. They go play the Phillies, And Dusty said that he remembered that, and that's why he went to Solomon Torres instead of Scott Sanderson. Unfortunately, Torres got bombed. Giants ended up losing the game. But I will never take that away from Bonds. He had an incredible year, and he earned every nickel that season with what he did for our team. He was great.
Well, Doggy, I'll say this before we bring Billy Z on for the special surprise for you. As a Yankee fan who started watching baseball in 1990, having watched Scott Sanderson in the early 90s for the Yankees, maybe a good move for Solomon Torres to pitch that game and not Scott Sanderson. And now let's bring in our mutual friend Billy Z.
It was scoreless bottom with a third. It was scoreless bottom 3, and then the Dodgers scored 3 runs, lost 13-1. But go ahead. I apologize.
You're great. Our friend Billy Z is here, your old friend. Billy, say hi to Christopher Mad Dog Russo.
Hello, Christopher.
Billy, good afternoon. How's my buddy? Things good?
Doing great. Better now that I'm talking to you.
So we do Doggy every day on the show, and like Bill has a ton of experience doing this, obviously, right, with you. Because you guys would do Super Bowl trivia every year on Mad Dog Unleashed. So I was like, I love sports trivia. I fancy myself. I kind of fancy myself, and maybe I'm wrong, kind of like a younger version of you to a degree in my sports knowledge. So we do trivia at the end of the show every day. I tasked Bill with coming up with a second trivia question for today to see if either you or I could answer the question. Are you ready for Bill Zimmerman's trivia question?
Yeah, this will be interesting. Bill's good at this. Go ahead, Billy. Let me hear it.
All right. Chris, you can pick your poison. You want college basketball or baseball? I think baseball is pretty easy. College basketball is a little tougher.
Let's do the college basketball then. Go ahead.
All right. So today is the anniversary of the Bird Magic Championship game from 1979, which got me thinking. Yes, it is. Judd Heathcote and Tom Izzo are the only 2 coaches Michigan State has had for the last 50 years. Now, they are the only school that's only had 2 coaches over 50 years. There are 3 schools that have had 3 coaches, and current, like up to today, there are 3 schools that have had 3 coaches over 50 years. 2 of them are easy. 1 of them's tougher. Who are the 3 schools?
All right, 3 schools with 50. North Carolina's had 4. So Dean.
Syracuse
Roy,
has to be
Doherty,
one, right, Doggy? Are we working together on this, or do you want to take this?
Yeah, Syracuse. Syracuse has got to be one. Good job there, Nick.
Jerry McNamara is the 3rd coach in the last 50. Yep.
Does Duke's interim coach count when Coach K had to miss time? Because Duke's an answer, right? Or no?
Yeah, no, full-time coaches. Correct.
Okay, got it.
Duke is the second one. Foster, K, and
because
and
you got Duke and Shire. Okay. And before that, it was Bill Foster. So there's one more, Bill?
One more. It's everyone knows the current coach, but it's a smaller school. I'll give you the hint.
Oh, I know it. I got it.
Go ahead, Nick. Go ahead.
I don't even know who the 3rd guy is, but it's Dan Munson, Mark Few, and whoever the guy was before Munson at Gonzaga. Is that right?
No, that is not correct. Gonzaga's at 4. I'll give you the 3rd one because it's tough. Oakland. With Greg Campy, who's been there 41 years now, Jim Mitchell and Lee Frederick, the other 2. Oakland, 50 years only.
I never would have gotten that. Billy, that is why, folks, the Super Bowl trivia on Mad Dog Radio that we did, how many years, Bill, you and me? That's why the damn thing was so successful and people loved it, because I had Bill run it. And that question is an example of Bill's expertise. So that's a great job. Good job, Billy.
There you go. Thank you, Doggy.
Doggy, you're the best.
Okay.
The verdict on Vice, Tuesdays at 9 o'clock. Thank you very much. Enjoy the games this weekend. We'll catch up down the line.
Good job there, Nick. Thank you, pal. Appreciate it. You got it.
The great Christopher Mad Dog Russo joining us here on You Better You Bet. Billy, how's that like when you always catch up with your old pal, the Mad Dog?
Yeah, I love talking with Chris. I was telling you the other day, we ended up, like a couple months ago, I was talking to him about like all-time point guards over text message. Something about, with Chris Paul. And like, we just, like we were having a show on text message. He's just going off on Chris Paul and James Harden. It's incredible. It's fun. Like you have.
Good.
Yeah, go ahead. I was just saying, it's like you have like Chris's radio show via text message, because who like the Chris Russo you see on the air is the same guy off the air, same person. It's not an ad.
Can I tell the story about us in San Francisco like last month in the lobby with Mad Dog?
Yeah, sure.
All right, so in the hotel, what we were at the Hilton Union Square in San Francisco, right? So we're staying there, like us at Odyssey, and like all the serious guys are there as well. And like the reason why I say that is I think people know enough about this shit. Like Bill and I worked together for a long time together at Sirius. Me for NFL Radio and Mad Dog Radio, Bill for Mad Dog Radio, right? So we know everybody that works there. We've been in this industry for a long time, and I'm not bragging when I say this. If you do this for long enough, like, you're going to know basically everybody. It's a pretty small industry, right? So we're all in the same hotel. So every day you're running into people you know that you haven't seen in a while, you don't necessarily talk to on a day in, day out basis because you're not working with them anymore, right? But you're still friends with these people. So I think it was later in the week. I think we had just like eaten with Mitch, right? Mitch Rosen. We get back to the hotel. It's probably like 3 o'clock local time. I don't know what, it doesn't matter. Anyway, Dog is sitting there in the lobby with Eddie Erickson, who's currently the producer of Mad Dog Unleashed on Sirius. And we both walk up to Chris and we say hi to him. We start talking. Dog I don't even know how this started. He started talking about John Brody, the Niners quarterback in like the early 70s who had just passed away.
It started because we talked to him about the Ernie Accorsi interview.
That's right.
He
we had
said he had
Accorsi
Ernie
on the
Accorsi
show
on when John Brody died, and just
That's right.
went off for John Brody.
So I'm standing there and like, look, Mad Dog I love Chris. He's the best. And I understand that like you, the listener or the viewer, like you'd love to sit there. I sat there. How long were we there with Dog? 25 minutes?
Yeah, 25 minutes, I would say. Yeah.
This was a conversation that could have been like 3 minutes long. And like, not to say that we don't like talking to Dog, just like it's the end of a long day. Like, can we go back up to the room, please? And Dog and Bill just like kept this conversation going. And I'm like seething standing there like, Bill, can we please get out of this conversation, please? And it was just like Doggie's greatest hits, like talk about Brody in the 1971 NFC Championship game against the Dallas Cowboys. Like it's pretty a funny story in retrospect. At the time, Bill, I did not find it very funny, to be honest.
Yeah, that's the thing is it's because it's all the details that he knows. Like, so Steve Torrey, the program director of Mad Dog Radio, he's there as well. They're arguing about specific years that Brody played the Cowboys, whether it was like 66 or 68 or whatever it was. Like, but they have that kind of details. And that's what's wild about Chris. Like, I remember he did an interview with George Brett when the Royals were in the World Series against the Giants. And he was talking about some detail of the Yankees-Royals series in the late 70s. And George Brett just goes, I don't remember that at all, but if you say it happened, I believe you.
Can I ask, I generally think I'm pretty self-aware, which means that what's about to follow is a comment that is totally lacking in self-awareness. And I am aware of that, at least. I kind of feel like I can do that, just like I'm younger than him. Fair or unfair?
Oh, yeah,
be brutally honest. You can be brutally honest.
Like, your details, like 1990 to the present, are impressive, to say the least. And like Femi Abebefe, who was on this show, like he's good, but like you're next level with that kind of stuff.
I was talking to our guy Femi the other day. Femi's doing great. Femi's feeling great. Love our guy Femi. Hope to get him back on You Better You Bet at some point in the near future. All right, we have to take a break or I'm going to get electrocuted. We had a lot of NBA topics to hit from last night, including, trying to think which is the best one. Oh, yeah, the NBA championship contender that I don't want to see again this season. That and more coming up next on Westwood One Sports.
Minnesota wins it in overtime. What a game! One of the best games of the season.
Now, back to You Better You Bet with Nick Kostos on Westwood One Sports.
ESPN courtesy of the highlight. Not one of the best games of the season if you bet the Houston Rockets like I did against the Minnesota Timberwolves. Look, I'm done with this team. I'm done with the Houston Rockets. I'm over it. I don't need to see them anymore. I think what's likely is we will get Lakers-Rockets in the first round in the 3-6, and that is the one team that the Lakers can actually beat. And you know what? Unless you are a huge Rockets fan or a gigantic Laker hater, you should be rooting for that. Because LeBron and Luka and the purple and gold advancing to at least the second rounds of the playoffs, probably to play Wemby and the Spurs, would be must-watch television. Get the Rockets out of my face. And if you don't know what happened last night, it's not just that the Rockets lost in Minnesota with no Anthony Edwards. Like, that is, it's not great, but you know what? Like, the Wolves just beat the Celtics with no Anthony Edwards. They're pretty good. Julius Randle's pretty good. They got good players on the roster, obviously, right? It's the fact that, I mean, this, if you don't know what happened, this is going to sound like I'm making it up. The game goes to overtime, right? Tied at 95. The Rockets score the first, I'm not making this up. The Rockets scored the first 13 points of overtime. So, like, we are midway through the 5-minute overtime, and Houston is leading 108-95 against a Timberwolves team that does not have Anthony Edwards. Final score, Wolves 110, Rockets 108. Since play-by-play, and I'm not talking broadcasting, but since play-by-play started getting tracked as intricately, try to say that word, intricately, as it is now, back in 1997, that is the biggest ever comeback in overtime. Since 1997. 1997. You know, before The Last Dance in the NBA. Before John Elway and the Broncos had won a Super Bowl. 1997. And Anthony Edwards didn't play. I'm so good on this Houston Rockets team. I'm good on Ime Udoka. I'm good on Kevin Durant. I'm good on Şengün. Go away. Like, get to the first round, get your ass handed to you on a silver platter by the Lakers, and go to Cabo and get out of my face. I'm over it. What a waste of talent and a waste of opportunity for the 2025-26 Houston Rockets. Am I pissed that I lost money on the game? Yes. You better you bet on this Thursday. Couple other notes from the NBA last night. So don't look now, but the Atlanta Hawks, who were like left for dead earlier this season, playing terribly, trade Trae Young, are now in the 5 seed in the Eastern Conference after their overtime win last night on the road in Detroit. Jalen Johnson, who is probably going to be on an all-NBA team. He's been spectacular. He's really ascended to the next level. Jalen Johnson scores 27. CJ McCollum scores 27. And a great win for the Atlanta Hawks on the road. Jalen Duren misses a shot at the buzzer that could have tied the game and sent it to double overtime. But I once again walk away from a Detroit Pistons game saying, I feel even better about this team than I did before. Like, Cade Cunningham's not playing. He's not playing. And the Pistons keep on winning and keep on contending in these games. Janice Jenkins, 19 points. Oscar Thompson with 18 points. Duren with 26 and 14. The Pistons, assuming they hold on to the 1 seed, and look, they lost last night and Boston won. So, like, it's not guaranteed that Detroit's going to have the 1 seed, but probably. Assuming that A, the Pistons hold on to the 1 seed, and B, Cade Cunningham returns for the start of the playoffs, the Pistons will look back on this and say that this was a good thing that Cade missed this time. Not that you want your star to get hurt, but now other players have had to step up as a result, and that makes them more viable come playoff time. Now, if you're the Pistons, the team that you don't want to see in the first round, and I'm fascinated if you, the listener and viewer, if you know the team I'm about to reference, because we've talked a lot about, Toronto is currently the 6, right? They're a half game up on the Sixers for the 7, and then there's Miami, and then there's Charlotte, and then there's Orlando. These are all viable teams. None of these are jabroni, 9 or 10 seeds that could potentially somehow sneak into the first round. Like in the West, you could potentially have Portland or like the Zombie Warriors, and who knows if Curry's coming back. Like in the East, these are all like legit teams. The team that Detroit should not want to see, the team that Boston or the Knicks should not want to see, is the Philadelphia 76ers. Joel Embiid returns last night, 35, 6, and 7. Paul George, back from his 25-game suspension, 28 points. VJ Edgecombe, 22. Sixers 157, Bulls 137. And Tyrese Maxey's not even back yet. If the Sixers are fully healthy and sober, and Cade Cunningham's not 100%, tell me that Philly Pistons isn't an interesting series. That Philly Boston's not an interesting series. That Philly New York's not an interesting series. I'm not saying I'd pick the Sixers, but I mean that's way better than your average run-of-the-mill 1-8 or 2-7 matchup. And just Billy Donovan, like really? Like you just had 160 dropped on your dome. Just go to North Carolina, please, and make all of this better. And this is the last point on the NBA. So last night, the Wizards beat the Jazz 133-110 in one of the worst NBA games you could possibly imagine from two teams that are racing to the bottom for a top pick in the NBA draft. I'm going to ask this question to everybody. Do you all know the team that is currently the team with the worst record in the NBA? The team that, if the season ended right now, and it doesn't, but if it did, would have the most ping pong balls in the lottery. It's the Indiana Pacers, who lost last night to the Lakers. The team that took the Thunder to 7 in the NBA Finals last year. It is very much within the realm of possibility that we will be talking about an NBA season next year and a Pacers team that has a returning Tyrese Halliburton flanked by A.J. DeBonsa, Darren Peterson, Cam Boozer, Caleb Wilson, or one of these other draft studs. Many people will bring up the 97 San Antonio Spurs as a corollary. David Robinson gets hurt, they tank, they win the lottery and get Tim Duncan. They are champions in 1999. I don't want to go that far yet. Just keep that in mind. The team with the worst record right now is the team that played Game 7 last year in the NBA Finals. Billy Z has already delivered one epic trivia question today. He's here with another. Billy Z, what do we got?
All right, Nick. This one I think is a little easier for you and for the real ones. But we were talking plenty about Netflix's broadcast last night, MLB opening night. And, of course, Barry Bonds, the all-time home run leader, with 762. There are 9 players that have hit 600 or more career home runs, but only one of them never won an MVP. Who is it?
Jim Thome.
Correct.
All our bets for tonight on the other side to wrap up the Thursday edition of the show right after this.
Now, back to You Better You Bet with Nick Kostos on Westwood One Sports.
Amazing show today. 4 phenomenal guests. We were laughing during the break about the Mad Dog. Did anyone ask Henry Aaron about Barry Bonds being there? Is just incredible. Thanks to Doggy. Thanks to John Ewing for BetMGM. Thanks to Steve Lappas from CBS. Thanks to the legend Jim Boeheim from ACC Network. Billy Z is our executive producer. Our technical director, Tyler Morales. Our engineer, Kenny Henderson. Our video producers, the tag team of Downtown Mike Brown and Dan the Man Turner. What are we doing here? Bets? Oh, we got a lot of bets we got to talk about. All right. Well, let's just get to it. Let's drop the dope ass beat. Myself, Tyler, and Kenny. Our bets for tonight in the world of sports. Tyler and Kenny, take it away. All right, our show sponsor is BetMGM, and we got to tell you that the Cavender twins are facing off in the Court of Legends game, and you can enter our Pick a Twin to Win free-to-play game for a chance to win a share of $2 million in bonus bets. Opt into the Pick a Twin to Win free-play game. Select which Cavender twin you think will win the Court of Legends one-on-one basketball game hosted at the Bank at the Bellagio in Las Vegas, Nevada. If the twin you select wins the game, you'll win a share of $2 million in bonus bets. I didn't really get to talk about the Netflix presentation last night. Should we do it tomorrow? Is it too late? I don't know who do you guys know, Tyler and Kenny? Do you guys know who Bert Kreischer is? I don't know who he is. Now I do, as people told me.
I'm shocked these people didn't know who he was, to be honest.
I only know him because of the Brady roast. That's the only reason I know him. But other than that, I've never seen him in my life until last night.
So I watched the Brady roast, and actually Art Stapleton, who covers the Giants, tweeted me about this. He's like, "Didn't you watch the Brady roast?" The Brady roast was Sunday, May 5th, 2024. And the reason why I remember that so crystal clear is that Monday morning at 4 a.m., my daughter was born. So we were literally at home watching the Brady roast, and we were like, my wife's like in labor. We have to go to the hospital. So the details are like very fuzzy for me on the Brady roast, which is why I don't remember that. I have no idea who he is. Just like, I'm good on him. Like, here's just like fat slob taking his shirt off. Like, great. If I wanted to see that, I'd walk down the streets of Manhattan. I'm good. Also, I'm good on Jameis Winston, and, would it be nice to see the first ABS challenge ever. Also, Netflix, if you want to hire us, we're all listening. All right. Tyler Morales, Sweet 16 bets for tonight in the NCAA Tournament.
All right, I think I like Texas. You guys are like them more than I do. I'm going to bet them. On Purdue, I wasn't really impressed with their win over Miami, so I like them. I have nothing in Iowa, Nebraska, I couldn't tell you. I love Illinois. It might be my favorite bet of the tournament so far. I think they're going to win. I picked them to go in my Final Four. For this matchup specifically, I think they're going to win. So Texas and Illinois are my 2 favorite bets for tonight.
Kenny, what do we got?
Well, I technically have a bet on all 4 games. But let's just say that Arizona, I just need them to win because I've got 100 futures parlays riding on them. But for the other 3, I'm going to be on Nebraska. I'm going to take Texas and Illinois just like Tyler. I agree with you, Nick, that Vokatitis is going to have a big night for Texas tonight, and I just think Illinois is going to outscore Houston. What are we... How do we always all like the same stuff? Like, the groupthink here on the show, it's either going to be dangerous or it's going to be great. I am definitely betting Texas against Purdue tonight, and I really like Purdue. But I think it's too big a number, and I don't think Purdue can slow down Vokatitis, so I'm going to wait and see if we can get the best number with Texas. Should we bet Nebraska? I am. I just think that they're riding a certain high right now that I just don't think Iowa can match, especially that stat that John Ewing gave us. Teams are 0-6 after that kind of upset in the tournament. I like Nebraska for that reason as well.
Tyler, you want to bet Nebraska or no? I think I might pass the game.
To be honest, I have no idea what's going to happen in this game. I don't. I'm just going to sit back and watch. Couldn't tell you.
I love Illinois. Illinois money line against Houston. We've talked about that for weeks. And I think Arizona is going to pound Arkansas. I'm laying it with Arizona. I'm not betting baseball tonight or today. You guys have anything in baseball you like quickly? Tyler first.
Yeah, I kind of want to fade the Washington Nationals to start the year. There is some bad vibes with this team so far, and the pitching staff is awful. So I took the Cubs on the run line -1.5 at home.
Kenny?
I'm too locked in on college basketball. I'm going to wait a little bit for baseball. Let the season settle in a little bit.
I just love how the sentence was said on the show today. I'm looking to fade the Washington Nationals.
They're bad.
It's March 26th. I'm looking to fade the Washington Nationals. Great job by Tyler and Kenny. Thank you guys very much. Arizona and Texas. I don't know. I guess you could say I like them all.
Arizona, Texas, and I love Illinois tonight. No opinion on Iowa, Nebraska. If you made me bet it, I guess I'd take the Cornhuskers. And that does it for the tremendous Sports Thursday edition of You Better You Bet. Another great show in the books. Thanks to our crew, thanks to our guests, and thanks to you, our listeners and viewers. Good news. We'll be back tomorrow on a phenomenal Sports Friday, breaking down everything we saw tonight in the NCAA Tournament and getting you set for tomorrow's action in the Big Dance. So until we meet again, I'm Nick Kostos wishing you minimal sweats, winning bets, the absolute very best of luck. Our pals, Black and Abdallah, coming up next on Westwood One Sports.